I always start out with this and her keys.
Okay.
We give you enough sets for 4. There's 3 no-nos of the trailer. If you remember those 3, everything else you'll do fine. One of them is the door, and I'll point out the other ones as we get there. It's very easy to lock the door and slam it closed. That's why we give you an extra key to put in your car. So
Right. Yep.
It's really hard trailer to break into. You're breaking a window or drilling out the lock. So keep one extra key out of the trailer. At least 3 people lock themselves out of the key. So in here, this is a ton of owner's book stuff. They also have a new app you can get for your phone from A Nucamp. Gives you a ton of information. They give you social contacts, all sorts of stuff on that. It's pretty interesting app to go to. They also give you a welcome pack on the inside. A lot of the maintenance stuff is the same we've had with your tag. Windows, they give you a microfiber cloth to clean them.
Does the locks for the Yakima bars?
Yes.
Is there a key in there for that, or is that on the key?
No, that should be in the box with
Okay.
the Yakima stuff on the inside.
That's how ours came.
Yeah, no.
No, good question. And I also tell people usually the first time or 2 you use it, you're going to have more questions than the rest of the time you own it. Despite what people say, we do answer our phones all the time. If you can't get through, shoot an email or shoot Dawn an email, and she'll direct people right away to get to you. So, refrigerator, that's I turned that on this morning. It doesn't take long to cool down. 0 to 7. When you get to 0 again, you want to hear that little click when you get to the end. The door is magnetic, but if your door here doesn't close, that's because that's open.
Right.
I had one person once break their door because they
Kept
slamming it closed. Stove, to light that, you just have it, turn it, you have a click, and it puffs right on. In the daylight, it's hard to see. Don't ever stick your ear over the side of it to see that it's going. I usually do recommend putting the shades up, so when it's heating, it's sort of funneling it up towards the shade. You don't want to melt the shade. But it works pretty slick. Don't cook on the glass surface. Well, the only reason a lot of people have electric ranges, and they're used to that. They're not used to gas, so I could easily see how that happens. Water system should work just like your tank, where you either run off the pump or you work off the reserve tank. So you'd have a pump switch here. You see the red light turns on from the pump. Also on the outside water system, there's going to be a switch out there as well. So you can do it either way. I usually turn the pump off if, one, I'm not there, or if I'm gone for the day, but I also turn it off at night.
So if you turn on the pump switch down here,
it does the same. The red light turns on here as well.
So if you flip this one the other way, it'll turn it off, or you got to turn it off out there?
You can turn them off either place.
So it's like a 3-way switch.
It's a 3-way switch.
Gotcha.
So you should be good at that. You can also, same thing with the hose. If I'm gone for the day, I usually just turn it off. I always have one of those fears in the back of my mind that the water's going to flood. Well, I call it my stupid brother who flooded out my pop-up, but works pretty slick. So water system, it is winterized right now.
Okay, that was the other thing I was going to ask right away is, with it being winterized, you can still use the heat, correct? With
Absolutely.
The Aldi system.
Yep.
Okay, so,
which I'll show you that in a second. The toilet, I actually still use the toilets in the colder weather. I use RV antifreeze, so sort of a flush. Or window washer solution, anything that won't freeze. And then you can take the cassette and pour it out.
Right. So you just pour it in there.
Just pour it in the top and just rinse on that. So speaking of the toilet, though, you have a little blue button that pushes and that brings water into the bowl area. The lever pulls towards you and it drops it down into the reserve tank.
So that's basically your flush.
It's sort of like a trap door. So that's on that. There's 3 little indicator lights that'll let you know as you're getting full. In most cases, you can see it getting full by when you turn the lever. You'll see the level getting higher. I'm sort of the anti-paper person. I always keep a small bag inside for paper products. If you ever hear horror stories of people emptying stuff out, that's what it is.
Number 1. That's what we use that for.
Well, I always thought that too, but you get used to it. Sometimes there's emergencies and stuff happen. So, shower in the back. Up above, it's also your sink.
So basically that could just
that'll fit in the inside. Now the reason I point that out is it's sort of almost like a kitchen sprayer, the black sprayers, where that connects onto the bottom of the shower head. I've seen that get loose sometimes, and then people have it down in the faucet connection, and then it's leaking down below.
Oh, gotcha.
So
it just continues to leak.
It just and they wonder why. And it goes into an area that it won't do any. It goes into where the cassette potty is. It won't do anything, but when you pull the cassette out, you see all this water down there, and you wonder what it is.
Gotcha.
That's what it is.
So it's best to leave it up there roughly.
Well, I put them up there just because.
Okay.
Like that, so.
It won't have an issue
On the road?
It shouldn't, but if it is, you can go back to the plane too. But I haven't had any issues running up there. The light, there's a little button on that, similar to the light here, that turns on and off for your power.
Okay.
Shower drain on the bottom. There is a little trap on the bottom. When you winterize it, make sure you run a little bit of antifreeze. Yeah,
so
we did. But,
dribble in. Okay.
and usually, if you're running the shower, it's me. I go into a little bucket and then I'll pour the bucket into there. But we do have pretty good.
So you're watching the pink stuff come through the
through the shower hose,
and
and then I'll
it
just
down.
pour what I have in there. So pretty. That's a magnetic catch on the door. There's not an actual catch that comes out.
Okay.
Over here on the bottom, you already asked about the heated battery switch. That's for the lithium battery. Power box should be similar to what you had before, except it's an auto detect. So it automatically knows that you have lithium batteries and will charge the proper time on that.
There is an auto detect put in that one, so
Okay.
in case you are want to look through
Yep,
that.
I will. All right, so you had a lithium battery. Before that's one we put in here. We're all good. Well, probably when I do it, I'll probably put one in it since it's in there. So, gas leak detector, also a low battery indicator.
So the solar controller
Yes,
is underneath here,
yes,
and is that Bluetooth?
it is.
Okay, so they'll both show up.
So they'll both show up on here as well. TV, it has a built-in DVD player. It's not hooked up to an antenna, and I'll show you where to connect for an antenna outside and that. All right, this is for your air conditioner.
Okay.
You have a button right here. So this is your mode button. So you can run it as a dehumidifier. You can run it with the Snowflake as an air conditioner, or just as a fan. Over here is your fan speed and how fast you want the fan to blow. And you have a vent here, one down there, one down here. And then this is the temperature you want to set it to is here. You can hit the plus minus button for that to go up and down. This will not turn on unless you're plugged in.
Right.
Same thing with the microwave. You have to be. Aldi system. Right now it's 70 degrees in here. When I first got here, I set it to 77, so it's heating up inside. And I don't know if you notice when we're putting in the battery, there's heat coming up down there. So it's a radiant heat that comes up. You're not getting a real loud fan or anything out of it, but it's sort of slow and pokey. So I call it, you sort of have to think a little bit ahead to bring the temperature up. I usually leave it at a low, like a base 50, and then it'll, you can go up a little bit from there, and it's going quicker. The slower it is, and usually the quicker you want it to heat up. So if you go to this screen, this is your temperature for the cabin inside that you want it to go to. This would be for the hot water. So like I say, you can run the heat without running the hot water. So that's what this is. So if you're using it over the winter, leave that off, and then that would be on. You can run it as 1 kilowatt or 2 kilowatts. 2 kilowatts is if you're plugged into like a 30 amp outlet, as if you're into a 15 or 20 amp outlet. You also have a button to run it on gas, which you see how that's green now. That means it's running. I call it the gas systems failure triangle of scary death. You see that come up every once in a while. It's usually you ran out of gas. You didn't turn the gas on. It's sort of like a check engine light that comes on. 99,000% of the time it's one of those two things. To reset that, turn off the battery, unplug the trailer, let it reset, and it'll come back to normal. But it shows up on here, and it's the first time you see it, it's very disconcerting. It's not that disconcerting when you see it. And then over here, I call it the 4 pages of settings. So here you can run like day-night settings. You can change the day modes on here. You can run in Celsius or Fahrenheit. There's a bunch of adjustments you can do. Probably the biggest one I show people is the mountains. If you go to high altitudes, you turn that on and it works with a different pressure on that. And then on the 4th page is a reset button, which will reset the factory settings. But there is a timer. You can set it so at 9 o'clock in the morning it shuts off. So there's ways you can do that. But also get sometimes people don't have the clock set right and it's turning off when they want it. So there's so those are I always tell people the hardest two things in the whole trailer, and it's not that hard after you play with it a little bit. Power cord. Oh, this is their new welcome kit they give you, which gives you like I think a deck of cards and a cleaner and some other stuff. Over here, this is a sink light behind you, a little accent light, the outside porch light. This is the underbelly lights on this one. This tells you how much water you have in the fresh water tank, how much you have in the gray water tank. You see how that red light is on? The more level you are, the more accurate it is. But I also tell people to use it as a guide, not gospel. It's pretty accurate, but the tanks are pretty thin, and all the sensors are on one end. So it's very easy to, well, I had a full tank, and we really didn't. Beds, those just pull back to click down. The big thing on that is if you can pull this cushion out, it makes that easier to click back and forth. That's always one of our new things when we get new employees. We see how long it is before they ask for help to set one of those down, because we can't get the thing to come down. Table, that's on a swivel base here. When you turn this handle, that'll tighten that so it'll lock into the place that you have.
Is it okay to travel with it in that position, or
you
take it on?
Or just you can take it out, or just make sure everything's tight on here.
Yep.
So it's not moving around on you. If it won't move around too much. I like it here more than I do under the bed, just because it's not sliding around. Remote for the TV, remote for the radio. The radio does hook into Bluetooth gas gauge.
Oh, that's interesting.
It works out pretty well. I use them on. I don't use it here. I use it on my grill at home. So. This hose here is for your outside shower. I'll show you in a minute where that hooks in. 2 speakers are on the radio in the back for the radio. The little sensor underneath there is your air conditioner sensor. But the big thing is, I'll have people call up 2 years later, what's that thing on there for? Did you have a lug wrench for your other trailer?
No.
Remind me, I have a couple extra ones. Okay. I bought just because these are sport rims, and they tend to be a little different than a standard car one.
Yeah, you need a thin wall.
Yeah, and I actually have one inside. I'll give you. I just bought a bunch. So you can bring your table outside if you want. I've also had other people buy a second table. Outside electric. Looking from the back, you can see your 2 back stabilizers. The yellow is a gas quick connect if you're trying to hook up an outside stove or a grill.
Can you step on this? Stand on it?
No. I mean, it's pretty solid if I was trying like a dog leash or trying to anchor something. I think you'd bend the aluminum if you...
Do you recommend the Yakima bars keeping them inside for the winter?
Yes. I do. But I'm also the OCD one around here that, I don't like... They get rusty. I just don't like how they... if somebody said they wanted to leave them on, I wouldn't be adverse to it, but if you had your choice, I'd put... But if you're storing it inside, exhaust from your heat system comes out here. Occasionally you see a little white smoke coming out of there. That's normal. So this is your water system. Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. So if you're just following the levers on here, so say we're trying to run off the water pump, which is dry camp.
Okay.
So you take it like the blue here, this goes down, this goes up, this goes up. And then you hit your pump and bring water out of the tank. If you're working on city water, you're going to go like this, and then you're just turning this like so.
Yeah, okay.
So very straightforward. They have a diagram inside in one of the books as well, in case you ever lose that sticker or it gets wet or something else. Hooking in everything off of this right over here. Antifreeze or a bucket of water.
Yeah.
Now, usually I do try to get a little bit of a step stool or something to draw it in. Because sometimes if you have it on the ground, it's not going to want to suck in. So I try to get it up a little bit higher.
And you're just using a cut-off hose then for that?
Right, an old section of hose. And then you can also feed hoses through here, though, underneath. You see there's a fitting where it comes up through the bottom. A brass elbow is a nice thing to get. So this is where the pump would turn on. A pump would turn on right here. You see how that red light came on? Same thing as the inside. This is the switch to no place. Do nothing unless you want to do something down the road. So the other 2 switches you have over here. So one is for the freshwater tank. One is for the waste tank. So those are built-in heaters on the bottom. This is also where you hook in cable TV or your TV antenna. A lot of campgrounds now run coax cable settings at the post.
Right.
But if you're boondocking, it really is not going to do you much. But and I'm not a big antenna guy because most cases you're out in the middle of someplace, even with a good antenna, you're not going to get much. Like I say, I do throw along a small coax cable just in case I am someplace that has it. Portable solar panel.
Awesome.
And then this light you can turn on or you turn it the other direction, and it's a motion sensor light. So if you open the door, it turns on and off. Okay. This is where that outside shower would hook into. It pushes in with a quick connect. Works out pretty slick.
Cool.
All right. And then also on here you have a lock from your key ring. I don't think I've ever locked mine ever. If somebody really wants to hook up my water for me, or they also have a lock on the toilet if somebody wants to steal my waste,
Yeah, right.
So it's more of a bother for you to go in and out with the key, but that's what those keys are for. Power cord hooks on here. I do find this a pretty handy. We sell these inside. I find it very handy for what I'm doing right now, rather than carrying the cord out every time.
For the sewer or the gray water?
All right. If I didn't see it inside, I'll make sure I get you a blue hose for that. So what you have, there's a hose that connects on after that cap comes off.
Yeah.
There's a valve right next to it that you pull, and then that'll drain. I usually keep a small bucket, like a 2-gallon pail. I'll get the discharge and I'll put on my fire at night. I use camp suds, so it's biodegradable and everything, but that way I don't have to wait in line at the dump station to empty.
Yep.
Where do most folks store the hose?
Usually in the box. Again, I keep a pair of kitchen gloves, and I keep a small tote, and I put it all in that. So to empty your toilet, this has a lever here you lift up, this pulls up, turn that, this cap comes off, and then that just pours out into the toilet. If you want to rinse it, it comes up, and then you can stick a hose or something down there to help rinse it out.
Yep.
Right now the lever inside won't work. But then that just slides.
Find one from a different camper.
I will. Yeah. We'll leave that out so we remember what we're doing. So like I say, again, another lock. This here gives you the tire pressure for the tires are all
50?
right on here. These are 65.
65, okay.
Watch your stuff right here. Full size spare tire. I usually recommend people rotate those through with your when you
regular
get the bearings packed. That way you're not ending up with a tire that's never been used. Inside here, you have a full propane tank. Let me shut that down. That's your bar for the stabilizer jacks. It's a pretty nice storage area. I think it's pretty similar to your tag. This has a wheel, so you can roll it. This moves pretty easily, but it also moves pretty easily. Platform, super nice to tie stuff down on. All right, I was going to tell you about the door again. So if you push this up and close the door, that'll lock the door. So again, this is how you get out. But I've also had people, sort of do it.
Does that garbage can come out?
It does. This also lifts up and in pretty easily. That's how I can tell people are experienced after they've had it for a while. You can do that very easily. So that's your garbage can there.
That might be a good thing to do.
Yeah, like I say, that's why there's 4 keys.
Yep.
Definitely a good idea. This hooks into here, so if you're trying to keep the door open. This is cut out for the heater rail in a couple spots if you want to get the add room. Like right here.
Yeah, right.
And it's one of the few trailers that it's actually pretty easy to do. Some trailers I just shake my head at. I would never buy one. This one you can actually work with. Right, that's sort of the basics.